I just started looking at some of the qualities that I was really like drawn to and attracted to, and those tropes of like the dark poet, the wild adventurer.
You're such an artsy queer. Like, come on, the dark poet.
It's in my blood. I cannot shake it. My name is Ash Thompson.
My name is Harper Hugo.
My name is Brent.
Yes, my name is Michael Fair.
Mabuhay! My name is Melinda Verga.
We are Drag Out the Love, and you're watching Queer in Alberta.
Mwah.
Welcome back to another episode of Queer in Alberta. I'm your host, Kels Valenzuela-Delamarter. Queer in Alberta is filmed here on Treaty 7 territory in the city of Lethbridge, Alberta, home to the Blackfoot Confederacy, as well as the Otipemisiwak Métis government in the Alberta District Number 1. We are kicking off another episode of Season 3 with our second guest from Leth Vegas. They are a drag performer, artist extraordinaire. Dick Goblin is your favorite Lethbian King, the quintessential man of mystery. He'll make you laugh, he'll make you cry, and he'll make out with your mom. Also known as Ash outside of drag. How are you doing, love?
Yeah, I'm so good.
We're so happy to have you here in the studio.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
And you made it. I mean, it's always a bit of a trek to get here.
It is. You're going into the wild, but we're into that. I'm here for it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us to celebrate Season 3, to talk about drag in Lethbridge, your own experiences coming out. I think this is going to be such a good episode together.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very happy. I have my support cat here, Hazel.
Yes, you do.
Yes, yeah. Good solid energy.
She's so grounding.
She is.
Even, I would say, almost as grounding as the meditation you did with us about 2 minutes ago, but close. It was very, very close.
Wonderful. We got a good, we got all the ingredients.
So we always start off the show with Quickfire Queer, which I think I've told you about. But as a reminder, Quickfire Queer is 5 rapid-fire queer questions. And you have 5 seconds to answer each of those questions. You think you can do it?
Ooh, brevity is not my strong suit, but yes, I'm into it.
You think you're up to the task.
You betcha.
Okay. Well, we're just going to get right into it in a 3, 2, Docks or Blundstones?
Blundstones.
Easy. Subaru or U-Haul?
Ooh, Subaru.
Okay. Local dating or LDR?
Long distance. Local dating.
Okay, that was dicey. That was close.
Yeah.
Home Depot or IKEA?
IKEA.
Easy.
Well, also like the same as like LDR versus, IKEA is LDR, right?
It is.
Calgary only. Home Depot.
True.
I gotta say Home Depot.
You do have to go and outsource.
You do.
And then our last question is from former Queer in Alberta guest Poppy Pufter, also a drag performer, amazing here in the city.
I'm immediately suspicious.
Who is your favorite drag artist in YQL?
In YQL. What a brat. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna give a nod to YQL drag artists who have gone afar, and I'm gonna say Mama Didi.
Okay. That's a legacy pick. A legacy pick. You did exceed the 5 seconds with that final answer, but we'll give it to you.
Okay.
We'll give it to you.
Short answer, Poppy Pufter.
Let's talk about Lethbridge a little bit, because I love doing this show, interviewing folks from all over the province, but there's something special about talking to another lesbian. We have so much love for this community. What do you feel like makes it a little special?
Well, I'm Lethbridge born and raised.
Yes.
And even when I was younger, I think a lot of people from Lethbridge, they're like, I can't wait to get out of here. I didn't really have that. Like I did leave when I was 18. I moved to Toronto. But I always had the sense that it was a special place because of the arts community that we have. So I think the arts community is something that makes Lethbridge really special. And I feel like because of how much nature is in really close proximity to Lethbridge, like with the river valley running through.
Gorgeous.
And the coulees. Yeah. People sort of have a different energy because we can all get out of the concrete really easily.
I feel that so much. Like my partner Sarah and I, we talk about the future, possibly moving, and I feel like we've been so spoiled living here for that exact reason, where it's like anywhere we go, we need that like instant connection to nature.
Yeah. You can kind of walk for 5 or 10 minutes and you might hear a little bit of traffic, but there's no buildings. You can get places where there's not a lot of other people. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then my family's here as well. So that's kind of what brought me back to Lethbridge.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Because you mentioned like going to Toronto, you've moved in and out of the city over the years and now have been back for a little while now, hey?
Yeah, 10 years probably.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, seven or eight, 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was 10 years or so because I was just going to say, like, when I reflect on my time in Lethbridge, even, I moved here in 2014. So exactly that 10-year mark. And one of the things that stands out to me right away is like coming here, I didn't think it was super queer. But now, like, as I've talked about on the show with other folks, it's like this sentiment of queer is everywhere where you go.
Yeah. I think that we've got that dialed.
Dialed, tapped in, we're good.
Yeah. I recently met with one of the artists in residence at CASA. She was up here from Brooklyn, and we did a photo shoot together. Puppy Pufter came along.
Of course.
Yes,
I mean, she's everywhere.
I know, besties. But we were talking about kind of growing up in Southern Alberta, growing up in a really conservative environment, very traditional community, lots of, really sort of like fundamental religious stuff going on. And this artist said, really? Oh, I would have like not gotten that sense.
Wow.
Because, she had been really like brought in by the
gays.
The community. Yeah, the gays and the artists at CASA,
Yeah.
She was like, oh, that surprises me. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, we put our best foot forward then.
But I feel like that sentiment, I hear it all the time again, right? That like people are so surprised by how queer friendly and vibrant Lethbridge is. And I was really curious, like, since you grew up around here, I think in like a conversation you and I had in the past, you mentioned how Dr. Benta Hansen was like the only out lesbian you knew in Lethbridge at one point to now. Like, talk about that a little bit.
Oh, Benta. So Benta and I grew up with Benta doing Lethbridge Musical Theater.
Yeah.
She was on the piano mostly, I think.
Which classic?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her happy place. But I will never forget. Benta was like, I'm a thespian and I'm a pianist. Don't call me a pianist.
It's an important distinction.
Yeah, thespian, lesbian. So when I was younger, and I mean, my parents are cishet folks, so I didn't grow up with a big gay community by any means.
Right.
Benta was, I think, probably the only, openly out queer person I knew, actually, and probably Jeff Carlson. But I think if I hadn't been involved in the arts, I wouldn't have known any gay people.
Yeah, and like that's so traditional too. Like queer people, we flock to the arts. We're creative. We love it.
Yeah, creative weirdos. Queerdos.
Yes, queerdos. Okay, that's going to be like the tag of the episode or something. I feel it.
Celebrating queerdos.
Yeah, but it must be something to now be here in Lethbridge again and just see how much the city has changed. Like, does that ever kind of hit you as like this whoa moment?
Hugely. Yeah, so when I moved back to Lethbridge, I think it was a lot of hard things kind of happened in my life. I lost my mom really unexpectedly. I ended a long relationship. And I feel like the theater community, the arts community, kind of rallied around me and brought me in and got me involved in lots of different projects. Sharon Pete and Erica Hunt, and that was really amazing. And then the first big show that I did when I sort of, well, not the first big show. That's not quite accurate. I did some New West stuff, but I did a show called The Pink Unicorn by Elsie Fortier-Edie, who is an author down in the States, a playwright, and it's a show about a really fundamental Christian Texan mother whose child comes out as transgender.
Okay.
So it's a one-woman show, and I self-directed and did it. That's also not entirely true. Gail Hanrahan stepped in for one or two rehearsals, but mostly self-directed, and I did it for Pride. So that was my first time kind of getting to know the queer community, was just organizing. I think Jessie, Victoria, I guess, was one on the board and kind of organizing things. But I met Jay Whitehead.
Yes.
And Jay encouraged me to become a little bit more involved with Theatre Outre. And then I got scooped up by Sophie Wright, Jordan Payne, now Jordan Payne Hunter. and she's kind of my drag mother. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Sophie Wright.
is your drag mother?
She sure is.
That's
so
wild.
yeah, she saw me doing a number with a band and said, "You need to do drag."
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was like, I didn't know any drag kings. I'd never really
Right.
seen any drag kings. I'm not on social media a ton.
Right.
My downfall.
And even what year would this have been? Like
This would have been 2019.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even then, like drag queens, I think have really been taking off, especially because of RuPaul's Drag Race and the mainstream.
Yeah.
But that same kind of like spotlight cannot be shared or like said to be the same degree for kings is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a really good interview with Land Insider
Yes.
about,
yeah.
some of the
Such a great advocate for kings.
huge, huge. Anyways, yeah. So Jordan was saying you need to start doing drag, and my brain just kind of glitched. I was like, but I'm a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
girl.
but I'm a girl. I can't do drag.
Uh-huh.
So then started to kind of educate myself and was like, oh,
Right.
okay.
Perhaps I can do drag and
Yeah.
perhaps I can do it really well.
Yeah. Back then, I think Jordan and I used the term bio drag, which of course is not a term that we use anymore.
Yes.
Different communities, I think, have different terms, hyperfem or hypermask, or as Carla Marks kind of gave me the education this summer, it's just drag.
I love that.
It's just drag.
I love that.
So, yeah, but for me, why I started wanting to explore drag was I was at a place in my own life where I was questioning the relationships that I'd been in and the gender roles that I carried. Everything was starting to feel really heavy and really cumbersome. And I had all of these sort of like masculine tropes in my mind.
Of
Like
what drag would be?
Just around men, I think.
Oh, I see.
Because I had mostly dated men through my 30s. And so
It happens.
I know. I
It
don't know
happens.
why did I go
You
astray?
made it to the other side, diva.
I guess. Started out strong, got off track, came back
This
online.
is a safe space. I'm not going to judge you.
So I just started looking at some of the qualities that I was really like drawn to and attracted to, and those tropes of like the dark poet, the wild adventurer.
You're such an artsy queer. Like, come on, the dark poet.
It's in my blood. I cannot shake it. So,
wow, but like I get it.
yeah. So I was like, why do I want to look for these things in other people? Let's start exploring them in myself. And so, yeah, Dick was really a way to start doing that work, and it's just been like, whew, it took off.
That's so cool.
both as like self-realization, self-actualization, and then a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, so am I understanding you right? If I'm following these timelines of like coming out and then this character, Dick Goblin, coming to be, would you say they kind of happen closely together? Because it's like you're talking about learning things about yourself through performing as this character. So
Dick was actually born while I was still in a relationship with a man.
Whoa.
And that was solid. Like,
okay.
Yeah, huge shout out to Scott Jardine. He was very much into it. Yeah. He helped me so much with backstage stuff, problem solving, grabbing things, and was a phenomenal support.
That's love.
Yeah. It was a really beautiful connection that we had. And then I think that it was probably kind of maybe 2 years after that I was like, things don't feel right anymore. So we went our separate ways, and it was just because I was like, I can't date men. I can't date men anymore. Yeah. So the creation of the character, and I think all of the work that went into Dick, and because things are better when they're meaningful, right? Like it's one thing to put on clothes and to put on makeup, but the real power of drag is in satire. And so once you start kind of digging in and you start educating yourself more about, the patriarchy, this whole structure that we're all, trying to find our way through, that's been, really kind of dominating a lot of us for a lot of our lives, especially as women.
Yeah. I mean, say less.
Yeah. Then once I started pulling all of that apart, I was like, I can't be with men anymore.
Yeah. And
No
so
offense.
now here you are, like, not only I think are you one of the most recognized kings in the city, but I think for a lot of people, for me even, I was like, I think you were the only king in the city that I knew of. And now there's so many people coming and joining the scene.
Yeah. Well, me and Duncan Pleasure really kind of
Yes.
came up together. Duncan is my brother.
Yes, for sure.
yeah,
I've seen
we've-
Duncan on stage recently even,
Yes.
and amazing work.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite people to perform with. But definitely it's become more popular. And still, every show I have people come up to me saying, I really want to do this.
Yes. I mean,
So-
even at, what is it, the Drag the Love, the Fort McLeod show?
Drag Out the Love.
When
that
we
was
were chatting, you
special.
were like, there's like 6 people that have come up to me asking me to help them with drag. So I think you need to do
Yeah.
a workshop or something.
Oh yeah. It's such a. I think that drag is such a powerful tool for self-exploration, and reflection, and not only kind of looking at your own self and how you move through the world, but really starting to question some of those, those gender norms, those societal norms, expectations. Yeah,
absolutely.
starting to kind of punch it down a little bit.
Yes. No, I love seeing you perform. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's always an extra treat because we have like the Babes and Brews crew that they do it every month, but then you'll come and do something and like join the show. And I'm always like, finally, a king.
Yeah, I think rumor has it
Okay.
there might be a pretty robust king presence in the new year. So
Good, finally. Like, we love our queens in the city. They're slaying it up.
Of
but
course, yeah.
Of course we want to see more kings or more performers in general.
It was such a treat to do. We did the Nutbuster Road Show, the Nutbuster Road Show.
That's
with,
so good.
it
Did
was
you
great.
come up with that?
Yeah. But
It was me.
But the whole show was a really wonderful collaboration with Charlie Darwin up in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
So Charlie came down with Bunny Lebowski and Moses Motors and Stretcher Hyman. Who,
Work.
Yes.
I've seen them perform maybe like once or twice. Remember it.
It was
very, very memorable.
Yeah. Stretcher is like the reigning king of Alberta, queen of Alberta, Alberta's drag superstar.
That's wild.
Exactly. So it was so special to have. It's a different energy when you have a show that is all kings, lesbian love, just really kind of that sapphic element. So that was one of my favorite shows that I've ever done.
I'm sad I missed it, but you talking about that element of like a different energy when it's maybe sapphic or kings like fronting a show and leading a show. I experienced it, I think, for the first time just around Pride season that we had in June because No Baloney, Cosmo, Osmosis from Calgary, and then Slim, I can't remember all of the performers, but they were here to do a limited show around Pride.
Yes, you did that.
Yeah, and then I did like a live Q&A, it wasn't my favorite like Q&A I've ever done, but the show itself, phenomenal.
Yes. And I think that's another thing I need to give Lethbridge another shout out for is I've been told that by performers who come from, other places around the country or around the province, that our drag community in Lethbridge has a different energy as well. That there tends to be a lot more support and a lot more enthusiasm.
I love to hear that.
From the audience as well as from the performers, and perhaps not as much drama as I think that sometimes other cities can have. So yeah, Lethbridge has, I think, a really strong reputation as a solid drag hotspot.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Like when I moved here 10 years ago, again, never would have thought that, but amazing to see how much has changed in such a short period of time. Yeah. And I was thinking about it actually as just a little funny while you were speaking. I'm like, Dick Goblin, the amount of times that we're going to have to bleep out your name throughout this whole episode.
You know what we can do? We can start calling him Mr. Richard Goblin. Absolutely.
That's what I thought. It might make our lives a little bit easier.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that I do in drag is the drag story time. So Lethbridge Public Library has invited me. Analog Books has had me many times. And whenever I do anything for the children,
You're Mr. Richard.
I'm Mr. Richard Goblin.
Okay. She's G-rated.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering too, because you talk about the origins of Mr. Richard here. Do you prefer Mr. Richard or Sir Richard?
That's so fancy.
You're welcome.
Yes, I love it, Mr. Goblin, Sir Richard. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll answer to anything you call me, Kels.
Okay. I
Mhm.
mean, Sir Richard, you
Mhm.
were a pandemic drag baby as well, which is something that we haven't really gotten into. Was
Mhm.
that like just an extra layer of time to yourself that you were like, okay, I want to explore this? Maybe you'd been pushing it off before, or just now was the moment?
Yeah, it wasn't that I'd been pushing it off. Like truly, the first time I did drag was in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when I met Jordan
Yeah,
and or
right.
Sophie, and then the first time I performed as Mr. Goblin would have been, I think, in like January, and so right after that it was lockdown.
That's so wild.
So I mean, the pandemic was a lot of things for a lot of people and very, very difficult. I worked as a frontline healthcare worker throughout it, so it was phenomenally difficult. But in terms of my personal life and my artistic life, it was a time of really beautiful solitude and
Wow.
exploration. So just not having all of the kind of like social obligations that normal life carries, I had this chance to really get weird at home, and it served me very very well.
I
It
also
changed
got
me.
weird at home,
Yes.
but I don't think it served me in the same way.
Well, is that, I mean, we're here now.
That's true. I'm thinking more about my despair in grad school, trying to go through a pandemic and do that. But
Very different.
yes, this did come out of that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I am grateful for that time, because as a busy person, as a artistic person, you tend to collaborate a lot. You tend to work on a lot of projects with other people, and that's wonderful. That builds community, and it's really great. But I'd never really had the opportunity to spend so much time alone, and it was way better than I thought it would have been.
Honestly, I'm so glad to hear that for you, because I feel like so many of us, and that's not to like discount any hardships that you faced during the pandemic.
Yeah, there were
but
those as well.
right, but so many people really, really struggled in that time. And I think for me, a little bit of that was, again, graduate studies during a pandemic, not a fun time. But you're right, like something really, really good came out of it that would not have if I did not have that.
And I think a different take on community, or a different slant with more of a focus on resilience, because the Theatre Outre group worked their butts off to do a ton of stuff online. So we did a quaint, quirky, and queer cabaret online.
Cool.
And so many different people submitted things because it was all a video format. It was a completely different media that more people were able to participate in. We tried to do improv online. Very difficult. Would not recommend.
No, thank you. What happens if you have like the Zoom delay or the lagging?
Exactly. Comedy on Zoom. Very, very
Painful.
difficult. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like I both would want to see it, and also I'm okay that I missed it. Do you know what I mean? Like brave
I'm like,
soul.
let's burn those gigabytes. I mean, I don't know if I want
They
those to
don't
come back.
exist.
Yeah.
They don't exist. But you know, for folks that are listening that are not from Lethbridge, we have had Francesca on the show too, Francesca Dynamite, and she's talked about Theatre Outre as well. If you could maybe give a quick description of what Theatre Outre is, what they do, just for people that maybe haven't heard of it before.
I would be honored. I hope I do it justice. So Theatre Outre, I believe, was born maybe 11 years ago now. They had their 10-year anniversary. Jay Whitehead was the creator and artistic director.
And who's also Dee Dee that we've been talking about.
Yes, yeah, my favorite queen. And Jay is living out on the East Coast right now, but Theatre Outre has continued. Diani Hudson and David Gabbert were very much a part of that creative team with Jay. So I think the mandate or the mission statement, or I don't know, I'm making it too fancy.
Lofty.
Exactly, yeah. Theatre Outre really sort of strived to create a space for queer theatre in Lethbridge. So they did a lot of theatre that was sort of pushing more boundaries in terms of the content. And it was all just dripping with gay.
Oh
Just
my God, yeah.
Fabulously gay.
I'm
So-
thinking of like when I first moved to Lethbridge, I took Drama 1000 at the University of Lethbridge, and I think it was Richie Wilcox
Oh,
who
yes.
was teaching it at the time.
Yeah.
And so, of course, part of the assignments for students is to go and see shows in the city, but you could go to whatever you wanted. And one was at Theatre Outre. And this is like week 2 of me in Lethbridge, still being very closeted. Walk in, and it had the giant, like, we're not
Yes.
going to say on the show,
My
but
namesake.
you know
On the
what was
wall.
on the wall.
Mhm.
And then it was His Homo Highness or something was the name of the
Yes,
show. That's what I
yeah.
remember.
Yeah, so His Homo Highness was like a repeating kind of like a monthly, or I don't know how often they did it. But that was where I met Jordan. And they would
Wild.
each have a different theme. So it would be My Homo Highness Elton John edition, My Homo Highness the Country edition.
Yes. Very
Yeah,
Berta
yeah,
core.
Jay really brought very Bertacore. Jay really, I think, sort of brought drag to the city, gave a lot of people, as I'm sure
Yeah.
Francesca has also mentioned, like a lot of people the opportunity to have a place to perform. Because, as we often say in drag shows, like we are like Tinkerbell. Like you need to clap for us. We need to know that you love us in order to keep going.
Yeah.
People don't perform, people don't create if they don't have a space to do it in and an audience who's going to come
For sure.
and witness it and share it. So yeah, Theatre Outre's really created that space in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I'm glad like they're still here in the
Absolutely.
city. Even if
So since Jay left, we have a new artistic director, Brett.
I think so.
I
Like
don't know
in
Brett's last
Edmonton.
name.
Yeah.
Yes. And Brett also performs in drag as Sissy Fit Ziggy Zigga.
Sissy Fit. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I've seen that. What is it? The Princess Diana number like 3 times with the changing. Yeah.
So Theatre Outre is going strong. They're going to have their season release. What do you call that?
Like with all of their shows and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, on October 17th at Analog Books.
Very cool.
I just got the email.
Look at that, a loving review for Theatre Outre. Because
much
you're
so.
saying as well, maybe no Theatre Outre, no Dick Goblin as we know it today.
Absolutely, I would say that that's the case, and I think it's like that for any small town, not just with like having art spaces, but having queer spaces. Like
Yes.
it's kind of like how we started talking about Benta. Like if you don't have those role models to show you that something is possible, that's sort of like the first ingredient in unlocking those things in yourself. You need to have a space where you feel safe and also challenged. And I think that, yeah, Outre has been that not only for theater, but for the queers.
And you know what? You were very, like, whenever I talked with you, you're very, very humble when you speak about the work that you've done. But I would say, just as an outsider and observer, you and Duncan Pleasure, like I'm even thinking about now seeing Vamp Valentine in the scene as another
absolutely.
budding drag king here in Lethbridge.
Huge.
Like you're a part of that as well, you know, that representation and creating that space in the city. So that's why I'm so excited that you came here to the show
Oh,
today.
Thank you. There was a person who came up to me at the end of Drag Out the Love out in Fort McLeod.
Yeah.
And we were chatting, and they were saying, how did you get into this? And so we had kind of a brief conversation, and then they just looked at me and they said, I would just love to have the audacity. And I will never forget. There's actually, I'm going to post a picture because that moment will be burned in my mind.
The audacity.
Because I think, if we're grown, if we are raised as sort of like a cis female identifying person,
we make ourselves small.
We don't take risks. We're not strong. We're not powerful. And so to have someone say, the audacity, it was just the greatest compliment anyone could have ever given me.
100%. Like, carry that with you every day. Have it be your mantra when you start your morning.
Audacious goblin.
Literally. That's so good. You should get a sticker or something like that.
Yeah.
I would put it right here. Audacious goblin.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. But you know what? You have so many funny stories too that you've even shared with me in our brief and like friendship that's growing. But you have a story involving, I think, Theatre Outre and Sir Richard of like coming out on live TV or something.
Yeah, brief recap. We were doing for Quaint, Quirky, and Queer. We were doing a show called No Way Out. So it's an improvised tragic comedy.
Right. And really quickly, Quaint, Quirky, and Queer, it's like a yearly showcase that happens in Lethbridge for people that have never heard of it before.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we were doing a media call, and I had been using the name Ash Thompson instead of my birth name, which is Ashley Thompson, and she, they pronouns on Zoom, you know, and at work and
Soft
things
launch.
like that. Absolutely. Hadn't really come up with my family because, you know, everyone calls me Ash.
Yeah.
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 And, you know, my family doesn't talk about pronouns. But we go and we get there, and David Gabbert says, okay, I think we should do a scene where our dad is dying of cancer and you're gay and you want to come
And you're
out.
gay.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Related. Thank you.
And I don't want you to come out to our dad before he dies, but you do want to. And, you know, 10 minutes prior to this happening,
Wow.
my dog had gotten a porcupine in her face. I'd had pliers, you know, trying. And then, oh, I'm late. Media call. Throw on a hat, wearing like my pajamas, looking phenomenally masked. And I get there. This is the scene that we're going to do. We do the scene. And then halfway through doing the scene, I'm like, my dad is probably going to watch this.
My real dad
Yes.
is really going to watch
My
this.
real dad. I was like, I guess I have to come out. And then
Hard launch, question mark. Like, outre.
yes. And then they were, you know, asking names, and
Yeah.
it was Global TV and,
Like
you know,
the real TV.
absolutely like,
like
the news that my grandfather
that your
watches.
dad is going to watch. Yeah.
So we get to the part where they say, you know, what are your names and pronouns? And
Yeah.
David gives his, and they come to me and I say, my name is Ash Thompson. My pronouns are she, they. And then I was like, I need to go and call my family immediately because they're going to see this on TV and be like, what is happening? So I called my dad. I said, hey, Dad, I just did this thing. It's going to be on the news. It's a make-believe scene. You're not dying of cancer.
Just in case you weren't aware.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But also, I will probably be bringing home a girl the next time. Yeah,
A
girl.
lady.
And it was no huge surprise. I think like I identified as bisexual when I was in my teens, in my early 20s, but it's different. It's like there's a different intentionality for me saying it now. I think also because it's a change for my family. So yeah, I told my dad, I told my brother. My mom has passed. She knows. And then, yeah, I called my grandparents as well because my grandpa is a fiend for the news. So
Yeah, you know he was watching and went, wait a second.
Yeah.
This little one looks a little familiar. Thank you.
Yeah. And everyone was. My brother could have cared less.
Work.
Yeah.
Typical.
Yeah. Little brothers.
I was going to say, I'm not going to guess, but it was giving little brother. Same thing with mine.
Yes. Yep. How many years between you?
2.5.
Oh, 6.
Yeah.
6 for me and him.
Okay, like a whole human being between you.
100%. Yeah, could have been. Yeah, I mothered him too much. That's why he doesn't like me.
Same. So it went well. The group chat was not erupting in flames with notifications.
No. It was, I mean, I've always lived as someone who's not afraid to do something different or, you know.
I mean, the arts.
The
Artsy.
arts, right? Like we're happy to go against the grain. We're happy to be an individual. So yeah, I don't think it was a big
big
surprise
jump.
for them.
Yeah. You know, I'm just so curious because my dad is like stereotypical farmer Albertan man of 2 words. So if I was to like come out to him on the phone or tell him that I was coming out on live TV and prepare him, I could imagine it being like dead silent and then just like, like, what did your dad say? Mine would give me nothing.
My dad literally said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Oh,
Shock.
okay."
Shock and horror.
And then he did call me back in like, you know, a couple hours and was like,
Process.
"So really?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Wow.
And it was funny. I never really said like, "I'm gay," because it I don't know. It just didn't feel like that for me. It like I said, you know, being sort of identifying as bisexual and having relationships with women when I was in my, you know, my late teens and my early 20s, it didn't feel like it needed to be like a hard turn. It was just like,
This is
where I am now. I won't be dating men anymore.
And you're like, from what you're describing. Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, and also recognizing that sexuality is fluid and all of those types of
Yes,
things. You know,
yeah.
someone will show me this in 20 years and maybe I will date a man. I don't know.
Who knows?
But,
Hot is
doesn't-
hot.
exactly. Yeah. It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, and I can't even remember what I was going to say, but the one thing that I wanted to ask you about as well is because we talked about how post all of this coming out on TV and grandparents seeing it, your grandma kind of became your biggest fan, hey?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, my grandma has always been my biggest fan.
I get that.
Yeah. She passed away in February, but it was really interesting because she had dementia. And so she always knew who we all were. There were times where it would get a little bit foggy. We spent a lot of time together. We would go swimming once a week. And sometimes when I was in like bossy girl mode and I'd be like, hey, do this, now do this, now do this. I think she would I would slip into like a nurse role in her mind.
Okay.
But 99% of the time she knew exactly who we all were. And I told her, you know, I think I want to date women now, Grams. She's like, well, that makes sense. Or
that checks out.
I'm not surprised.
I've been waiting to hear this from you since like 2005. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we had good conversations around it, sitting in the hot tub over at Stan Seawick and or Fritzick, which is the one on the north side. I get them confused.
Picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Community pool, hot tubbing. And that was always, but I mean, that came out of her love for me, right? Like I knew that she would never, it came out of her love for me. And it also came out of just how sort of solid and worldly and wise and loving and kind she was as a human being. Like she was never going to tell me, you know, that's wrong. That's just not the family that I was raised in, you know, that
beautiful,
not judgmental, not, you know, not racist, not bigoted, really, really beautiful people. But the thing that meant even more than that to me with my grandma, and I think it was because some of the sort of like edges of her awareness were softened a little bit, it was like she had this ability to see sort of this level that was even deeper than like what your pronoun is or what you're presenting as. Because as I became more comfortable, you know, using she, they pronouns, using Ash instead of Ashley, as I kind of rode this wave of Mr. Richard Goblin and, you know, questioning relationships, questioning gender roles, as it all sort of continued to build, the things that she would say to me as compliments would shift. Because she always used to tell me like, oh, you know, you're very beautiful. Or I remember once we were camping or something and showering, you've got a 10 out of 10 body, you know, like just very kind of sweet, silly things, but always very feminine. And as I sort of started to change and step more into this energy, she would say to me, you're so strong. I'm gonna cry.
I'm just feeling that too right now.
Yeah. Or I remember her saying once, you just walk into a room and you know what needs to be done and you go and you do it.
Yeah.
So just kind of having someone suddenly start praising me for being strong and confident and capable, it was it meant a lot coming from someone who's, you know, known me my whole life. And
I feel that.
Yeah.
And like we've cried over our grandmothers together before, because like when you describe your grandmother and the relationship that the two of you had, it really makes me think of mine, who also passed away back in January when COVID was first starting. And I am so happy that you got to share this part of you and be so loved and received by your grandmother, because that was a conversation that mine and I never did. But you're making me remember something now that I had completely forgotten about. And when I was first coming out, first with like, you know, my first girlfriend, I was dressing very like hipster lesbian tomboy with the snapback and the joggers and things I wouldn't wear now. But I went and visited my grandmother and I came in the door and she just started laughing at me and she was like, look at my grandson.
Straight
like,
to it.
Why is it kind of giving a little bit, you know? Like, I feel like even though I never explicitly came out to her, I feel like she knew, and I feel like she still loved me in this exact way that you're describing. So thank you for sharing that with me and with the show.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing it's such an important thing. It's such a powerful thing to be seen by the people who
You
have
love
known
that
us our whole
much.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And of course, there's chosen family, and that is equally powerful. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was very validating. It was a huge gift
Yeah, and I
from my
think
grandma.
I think that's something that people need to hear, especially today with like kind of the scary things we're seeing in society surrounding queer folks, trans folks, drag performers, that this love, look at the beauty and impact it has had on your life, on mine. That's something everybody deserves. Yeah.
My grandma came to a show at the Owls.
This is so cool, by the way. Like she was out here with her hundreds.
Oh my gosh, make it rain, grandma. No, huge shout out to Meg Napton and Kristen Crying because, and also to Queenie, my grandma's care worker. She couldn't have come without the help of those 3 phenomenal humans.
Wow.
And I think that even that experience of her coming, it gave me, again, that sort of stripped down appreciation of drag because she loved the music. She loved the energy. She loved the costumes, and she loved the love. Like she loved the excitement in the room. I have a picture of her at that show that is very dear to me. I'll share with you.
We'll like put it on the screen right
yes,
here.
please, just put it on the screen right now.
Yeah.
She was so happy, and I think that's a really beautiful thing about drag is that kick of energy and love and gregariousness that a lot of us don't get in our day-to-day life. It's like a chance for grown-ups to play and be silly and imagine.
You know, I watched a show, what is the theater company? Lunchbox Theater, I think in Calgary. I might be having it wrong, but they did a show called With Bells On by Darren Hagen.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
See it? I've heard of, I know, anyways.
Yes, but the show is based on his experiences being like a drag queen in, I don't know, the 90s or something in Alberta. And it follows these 2 characters, and one is like just like your average Joe, right? Trapped in an elevator at Christmas time with a drag queen in a Christmas tree dress, like work. But he at the end of the show or towards the end says something like, you are an event in other people's lives that they maybe go through normalcy day to day, but they see you and they will never forget you. And that touches, I think, a bit on what you just shared there about this being an event for your grandmother or for people that come and see your shows.
I hope so.
I can confirm.
Okay.
Yeah, I never forget.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think you showed me that photo of you and your grandmother before, like where you kind of like this, down by the side, giving her a hug.
That's
like
the one.
How special that must have been for you.
Yeah, it was. I did a Celine Dion song. I did My Heart Will Go On. And so I had a rose on the table. I gave it to my grandma at the end. And she left with Queenie. Like there was a point where she was like, I'm tired now, I need to go. But she danced out the door with the rose like waving above her head. She was the show.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story. Like I just think it's something that family is such a sensitive thing for a lot of people in our community, and it doesn't always go the best. But to hear that your family and your grandmother in particular, someone from a totally different generation, a totally different version of Alberta, was able to wave a rose for you at your show, that's stunning.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I think that I have been a little bit surprised by some people in my life. I don't feel like it's a rejection, but I do feel like people don't know how to talk about certain things.
What do you mean?
Well, I've started seeing a really amazing woman.
Is this your soft launch? Maybe even hard launch?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna take it back. Redact.
Strict crush. Yes. That's all I will say. But
okay, light and fluffy.
Yes, yeah. But so I want to talk about her nonstop, obviously, and I've kind of mentioned to a few of my. I've got a lot of like adopted moms. So I've mentioned her to 2 of my adopted moms, and there's not a lot of follow-up questions. And I'm like, hang on 1 second.
I mean, this is the space for questions if you want questions.
Hard launch. So I think that I am a little bit surprised. As a late blooming lesbian, I don't know if that maybe changes things, but that's something that has been a part of this experience that has surprised me is that I sometimes get the sense that some of my friends who I've known for a really long time who are not a part of the queer community don't know what's okay to ask. It's like
I
maybe
see now.
their own sort of judgments or hesitations around anything queer or gay or homosexual.
Or even like I find, maybe you agree, that sometimes they're so scared of saying the wrong thing that they don't want to say anything at all.
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
Yes, yeah. I feel like I need to figure out what that bridge is.
Litmus test.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Like how because I don't want people to avoid, because I mean that's like avoiding talking about the person that you love or the person that you're spending a lot of time with. That's a huge part of who we are.
And straight people don't feel scared to do it. So,
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I'm going to figure out the bridge that I build with you, my older cis-het friends.
That's hard.
Yeah, the olive branch, to be like, this is how we're going to talk about this. I'm going to show you it's going to be okay, because I don't want to avoid it.
You know, can I give you like my perspective on it?
Yes.
So for me, and like whatever you do, as long as you feel right about it and good about it, support. That's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I've had a lot of struggle with that, where it's like people that you've known at a different part of your life, where maybe you were straighter or more, you know, like conventional.
Mm-hmm.
It can be really, hi Hazel, it can be really hard to like navigate your whole identity with them because they're not used to it or not exposed or don't want to see it. And for me, I've gotten to a point where I don't want to compromise, honey.
She's like, I don't want to compromise either. I'm coming on your lap.
Yeah. I don't want to compromise who I am. And so if I feel like I can't be authentic with somebody, it's different if it's like maybe we're meeting for a coffee twice a year. Yeah. But if it's somebody regularly in my life, those are relationships that no longer make me feel good for who I am. Because why would I put myself in that box with people I'm supposed to have intimate relationships with, whether emotionally and knowing each other. So that's kind of how I feel about it. It's really hard to make that olive branch when you're the only one extending it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that if I built the bridge and no one met me halfway,
bye-bye.
Yeah. Then I don't know how you maintain a relationship after that.
Yeah.
But I've just never had to build the bridge before. So I'm like, okay, we'll figure that out.
And like, it's hard. Like, I think having an honest conversation with somebody about it, like if you've known each other for that long, like you want to give them the benefit, not of the doubt, but like a chance, right?
Yes.
To learn and maybe shift their thinking.
Yeah.
But also we don't have to do that work with every person.
No.
And especially when that person is not willing to do the same for you.
No.
Which if they're a good friend, they should do the same.
Yeah, they will. They will show up. Yeah, absolutely. It's, I think that's the importance and the power of living joyfully queer, authentic, you know,
audacious
lives.
Yeah.
It's a political statement.
Our existence is political. And I feel like I just wanted to speak to that because even so many people like that I know, like friend wise and etc., some really struggle with that aspect of I am out, but I feel like around my family, I have to be a certain way. Or these friends I've had since high school, I can't talk about these things easily and naturally with them. I feel judged even if they're not saying anything. And it's like, for me, maybe I have the benefit of moving 6.5 hours away from where I grew up and all of those older relationships are far away. But I just don't want to be in spaces or around people that don't make me feel loved and celebrated for all that I am.
Yeah, I agree. I was chatting with a woman I work with about Thanksgiving plans. I mentioned that I might invite this woman that I'm seeing.
Casual.
Yeah. You know, my crush.
Gather around the turkey.
I said, it's a bit soon, you know, but maybe I'll see, you know, I'm feeling it out. And she said, well, you could always invite her and just introduce her as your friend. Yeah. And I said, no. No,
yeah, it's obvious.
That will not be.
Come on, with these haircuts.
Yeah, we got outed on. We were having a beer at the Owl last night.
What is with you and getting outed in Lethbridge? Shut up.
This gentleman was walking by. He said, "Do you have a cigarette?" We said, "No." He said, "Do you have a light?" We said, "No." He said, "Are you lesbian?" I said, "Yes."
Yeah, this I can do for you. Yes,
this I can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was very funny.
That's hilarious. I don't think. What is that? 3 times now in this conversation, you're describing these like public outings where I can't relate.
Very queer. Yeah.
I love it. What gave it away? The hair?
Yeah.
That's funny. Also, just between you and I, is it the same chickadee that you were talking about before? Cute.
I know.
I know nothing. It's a soft launch.
It's growing. It's bubbling. Yeah, very thrilled. Very, very happy.
Yeah. Well, look at that. What a beautiful story about your grandmother, but also I'm still thinking about this man at the owl. That's just funny.
Yeah.
That's just funny. It's hard to segue from like, do you have a lighter? No. Are you a lesbian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did we get here? Okay.
Yeah. But do you have any last kind of thoughts about your experiences with drag, artistry? I know that artistry in particular is so important to you as a performer.
Yeah, I mean, the time that we have, like, I also work in palliative care.
Yes.
So and I've had a lot of death in my life. I've lost a lot of people that I really love. So I think that my existence is kind of overshadowed.
Overshadowed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Overshadowed
I have the
by
words.
an awareness of just how little time we have. So I think everything has to be really intentional and meaningful. And sometimes the intention is just to have fun or to just be ridiculous or to just make people laugh.
I mean, Mr. Goblin.
Yeah, it's a bit of a buffoon.
It does.
Yes,
It does what it says.
Yes. But at the same time, as we've said, even just the act of performing drag, living drag, doing drag, it is political. So I think that I try to make the songs that I pick and the things that I do quite intentional. So I guess, I don't know, just speaking about artistry, I think that things are more powerful when they're meaningful, when they're thoughtful.
Take me seriously as I give lesbian villainess over here with this cat.
Here for it. She's like, yes,
A little
Hazel.
bit. She's like, tell me about the artistry.
Oh, that face. But yeah, talking about artistry and drag, I don't know if I want to say anything super grandiose.
You don't have to.
Because I am sometimes just a massive dum-dum. You feel free to use that.
Yeah. And I mean, drag does not always have to be grandiose.
No. I mean, everything that I was saying about like the shortness of life and the shortness of time that we have, I think that maybe the better way to sort of link that to drag for me is the joy that I get from being a part of the community and the joy that I get from being audacious and from pressing boundaries and from just kicking at the patriarchy.
Work.
Yeah. So I think that whatever your drag is, whether it is just for fun or whether it is, a strong political statement or a social statement, it's all good. It's all good. And I think that the really interesting performers do a little bit of all of it.
Well, what did you say at the beginning of the episode from our favorite diva in Calgary, Carla Marks? It's just drag.
It's drag.
It's just
all drag. Yeah.
I love that. And that was perfect because I was going to ask you if you could like summarize Dick Goblin drag. Mr. Richard Goblin.
Sir Richard Goblin, yes.
Which I think you did a beautiful job just right there. All those little touchstones that you mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I did a clowning class up in Calgary.
The
last
lore just
spring.
gets juicier and juicier with you. A clowning class?
Yep. She went to clown college.
Hot.
It was a wonderful experience, but I mean, I think this is why performance is so powerful and drag is because we're looking at these sort of like archetypes of human experience of being. We're looking at all of the emotions. We're looking at how people relate to each other.
So cool.
We're looking at how we relate to the audience. Hosting is such an interesting thing. Like, working as a group. I think that I don't know, to me, I'm a Scorpio. Like, give me the juicy intensity. That is what I want.
That is the queerest thing you could have said on this podcast. I'm a Scorpio. That's the sentence. Get it?
Yeah. I work in palliative care and I do drag. So I just, the more interesting it is, the richer. Yeah. That's the joy.
I love it.
Queer joy.
Queer joy. Well, thank you so much for telling us all about your queer joy through drag with your family living here in Southern Alberta. And as we close, I do want to ask you, this show is all about sharing our stories, debunking stereotypes about maybe what being an Albertan is. But on the funniest side, what is like something very Berta about you that is a stereotype, I fear?
When I was a young adult,
Ready for it.
grew up on the west side, before the west side, like
when it was still prairie plain.
and I would walk. I would walk to the mountains.
With your own 2 feet.
Not really. I mean, but I would walk as far out as I could, like for an hour or two. And I would lie down in the wheat. I would dig my hands.
Breathe it in.
The earth. And I'd cry. I mean, like, 12, 13, 14 years old. Just really connecting to the land.
What sent you out there? Did like your favorite character on a TV show die or what?
Oh, no, I probably was like, like, I mean, I was 100% the heroine of my own,
of course,
my own story. So yeah, just like working out all of the big feelings, like looking at the sky, screaming and crying, love, all of the drama. So I think, but I mean, but that's kind of like, that's melodramatic and serious.
I was going to say,
like,
yours is very picturesque.
I like Pilsner. I like Pilsner. There you go.
Very Southern Alberta. I was sitting there like, wow, that's so majestic. Mine is my deep-seated love of Shania Twain. Like,
ooh, hot.
Yes, 100%.
Hot.
My mother, this is so funny because my mom is like the devout Filipina Christian woman. I think she's gay for Shania Twain. I think there is no heterosexual explanation for how my mother feels about Shania Twain.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Your mom has it.
100%.
Yeah,
they say it's genetic. I don't know. I don't know.
The genetic link. There's got to be another phenomenally
Berta,
baby.
B to the Erta. Let's go.
I've got an Alberta hoodie that I've had for 10 years. Yeah, it's gray. It is disgusting, but it's got mountains and fields, and it says Alberta, and I wear it with pride.
I think that's it. I think I need to see it in a number, actually.
I'll send you a picture.
Yes.
I will give you the picture of my grandma and a dirty, gross pajama shot of me
here.
in my
Boom.
Alberta hoodie. Yeah. Our province is in trouble in a lot of ways, and
but
I know
the hoodie
a lot
will
of
save it.
No.
The hoodie, I trust.
The hoodie will save
in
it.
Mr. Richard Goblin.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, my love, for coming on this show. I have had the best time chatting with you. You're welcome back literally whenever you want.
Oh, thank you, Kels. This has been a real treat. This has been not as scary as I was expecting.
Good.
You make me feel so comfortable.
Thank you.
And it's been a joy to talk to you.
That's literally been like the number one thing for any guest. But I do want to say, if you look over here at this camera, any fun projects coming up, anything in general, where can people find you, social media, that kind of stuff?
Okay, sure. I'm horrible with social media. I often post things 6 months to a year after I've done them. So keep your eye out for that. I am Dick Goblin the First on Instagram. Coming up, I am doing Footloose with Lethbridge Musical Theatre. It will be the first time LMT has hired a drag performer in one of their community productions.
So cool.
There's going to be something interesting happening with Theatre Outre. There's many things that are happening that are interesting. But
are you coming out again on live TV?
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know. It won't have the same impact the second time. But yeah, Theatre Outre, keep your eyes posted for something interesting in the new year. And lots of Wigs and Waffles, lots of Get Juicies, lots of Brews and Babes, all the good things. Yeah, I think that's it.
Perfect. And you know what? By the time this comes out, those 6 months will be up. You'll be right in the loop, right on time with Dick Goblin's social media.
There we go. I need your help.
Okay. Yeah. Done. Done and dusted. Come over for tea and social media. It's done.
Amazing. Train me. I'm old. I'm a Luddite.
Perfect. Well, could you do me one last favor?
Of course.
Could you look into that camera again and say, my name is whatever you want, Ash or Dick Goblin, and you're watching Queer in Alberta?
My name is Ash Thompson, and you're watching Queer in Alberta.
There we go. Coming up next on Queer in Alberta. You gave me such a hee-hee, a ha-ha when you were like, what did you say? Pride is our prettier older
sister. But she sometimes lets us drive the car.
Yeah.
And she has like a cuter Instagram, and we're still kind of figuring out how to unlock our phone.
Yeah.
We're a grungy little sister, and I think that reflects the spirit of Lethbridge.